Incoming President Donald Trump has repeatedly said that he'll enact mass deportations on his first day in office, which is suddenly next week. But what will that look like, including here in Massachusetts? Well, reporter Giulia Nieto Del Rio joins us with what we know so far. Giulia, thank you so much for joining us. As you know, and as you have well documented, Trump has made mass deportations a cornerstone of his last campaign. What does that mean here in Massachusetts? What do we actually know?
Massachusetts has approximately 200,000 or so undocumented immigrants living in the state. Experts say that number is likely higher. You know, Trump has said repeatedly he wants to push for mass deportations. There are a couple things that he can do. So some of the things ICE has said is that they're going to go after folks with criminal records. But Tom Homan, Trump's border czar, has been telling the media that that could also go beyond that, right? So folks who might be family members of these people. If people are going to court, ICE could do arrests there. Worksite raids may come back. So there are some practices that were stopped during the Biden administration that may come back under different kinds of enforcement operations with Trump.
Now, on the one hand, Trump keeps saying he's only going to deport criminals. But on the other, I mean, he's been talking about anti-immigrant rhetoric for such a long time and being racist about it, saying things like undocumented immigrants are poisoning the blood of this country. So, I mean, in reality, is he really going to just focus on violent criminals or go beyond that? What do we know?
There is bipartisan support for arresting violent criminals and deporting those folks. But it's really inevitable that other people, too, will get caught up in these immigration arrests. So those might be folks who are family members of people getting arrested, people going to court with them, people who are just working and might be caught up in a worksite raid that the Trump administration may bring back. So there will definitely likely be collateral arrests of folks who do not have a criminal record or criminal charges against them. That's definitely something that experts expect to happen during this next administration.
Tell us about something completely different, which is those here legally in the system, part of the refugee program that he says he wants to cut.
So Trump targeted the refugee program during his last administration as well. He actually brought the number of refugees entering the country down to a historical low. And these folks are sometimes people who have been waiting years to enter the country. There has been historical bipartisan support for the refugee program. People go through an extensive vetting process to enter the country, and they're flown to the U.S. through the program and set up with an organization locally who helps them find housing, find jobs.
Can I pause you right there on that, Giulia? Because this is so important. People don't understand. When they talk about folks coming over the border in droves, this is not what's happening in this particular situation. You profile a family, I think, who are now living in Lowell. Again, they were in their home country. I think it was Venezuela, or maybe they had went to Ecuador at that point. They had applied for the program, went through all the backgrounds, and then the government flew them to the United States. This is totally different from the normal immigration conversation, right?
Exactly. So these are folks who do go through a long vetting process. And they wait in, it's often a second country. So, you know, if folks have fled war or political persecution, which is, you know, the family fled political persecution in Venezuela, they were waiting in Ecuador for months to be accepted to this program. And once they got that acceptance, they were flown by the government to Massachusetts. And that's, you know, doing everything by the book. They came here legally. But still, Trump has said that these kind of processes, he would reduce them greatly. There's some fear that the vetting process isn't extensive enough. Those who work in refugee agencies have told me that they think it's one of the most extensive vetting processes that exist. But still, those numbers and the refugee caps are very likely to be cut under the Trump administration. For Syria specifically, during his last administration, Trump cut it for quite some time. And those were folks who were fleeing the Syrian civil war, of some of whom we've talked to in Lowell as well. And so, those who are already here will likely be fine, but it means that folks who are fleeing war and persecution across the U.S. may not have that chance to reach safety if Trump does cut the program.
Such an important conversation. Thank you for staying on top of it. Giulia, McDonnell, Nieto, Del Rio, I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
For daily access to Boston Globe Today, all segments and episodes are available on demand in the Boston Globe app by clicking Watch.